Okay, so blocking in this game, so basically just like Street Fighter or Marvel vs. Capcom, blocking is done by performing down back on the stick. That will block low attacks and mid attacks, so it'll block everything except overheads. So primarily when blocking, just like most 2D fighting games, you typically want to be holding down back and then looking for the overhead. Some characters don't really have overheads. Like some characters might have a special move like Kai, his Greed Sever, that's an overhead. A little exclamation point will pop up on the screen to let you know if you were blocking incorrectly. So if I'm holding down back, see a little exclamation point comes up because I was blocking low and you hit with an overhead. And it's the same with 5D, Dust. Remember, that's an overhead with everyone. So if that hits you while you're blocking low, the game will let you know. Well, it didn't, actually. I guess it just doesn't for that. But it will for, like, you know, a jump in attack, which with any fighting game, that's an overhead. It shows a little exclamation point. For some reason, it doesn't show that for Dust, but Dust is an overhead. And it's the same thing for lows. So if you're blocking high, which is holding back, that'll block highs, mids, but it won't block lows. So we'll have Kai do his 2D sweep, which is a sweep with everyone in the game, and his 5K, which is a standing low with him. See, you'll see that exclamation point come up to let you know. And then so there is chip damage in the game as well, so you will take some chip damage from special moves. You can see that there. You can block in the air as well. Let me see if I can have Kai do. I'll just have him. See? So you can air block. Now, there's some things you cannot air block. So a lot of anti-air attacks, remember your normals that are swinging at the sky? Those normals cannot be blocked in the air. So a lot of standing normals, not even just if they're swinging at the sky, just standing normals typically are designed to swat people out of the air, so they can't block them. Air-to-air normals, you can block that. Some special moves, like projectiles, you can definitely block in the air. Some special moves like that, you can't block in the air. So a lot of like any like grounded physical attacks, you're not going to be able to air block. There are some system mechanics surrounding blocking. Don't stress yourself out over it. Just know that it exists, but it's not really super important. Well, actually it is really super important. I'll tell you which ones are and which ones aren't. So some of them are very, very important. I think the most important one, which I'll cover first, is Faultless Defense, which is written as FD for short. So Faultless Defense is when you're blocking high or low or in the air, it doesn't matter. If you hold any two attack buttons except for Dust, you'll see this green ball come around you. And is there any way I could turn off like because the way it works is it drains your tension gauge. So you're not actually seeing it because it's training mode, but my tension gauge is supposed to be just like draining continuously. Now what Faultless Defense does is it pushes the opponent back while you're getting hit. So go ahead, Kai, whenever you're ready. So it pushes me back much farther. So I'll show him regular blocking. Do that, or I'll just even show like that. Now this is him if he Faultless Defenses with the same string, way further back. So it's a way to push people out. You just spend a little bit of your tension. There you go. You can see my tension going down. So it pushes it back. See? So it pushes people back, and also you don't take chip damage while you're doing it. So this is very useful. So if you're about to die, and so like let's say I'll put Kai at 1 HP, right? So normally I'll make him block. Do that chip damage. Oh, so you can chip him out, right? Which is what happened there. But if he was using Faultless Defense, I'll just hold this here for a sec. Okay. It's not doing any chip damage to him. Now his meter's going down, so eventually he won't be able to anymore. And now he got chipped out because he ran out of meter and couldn't faultless defense anymore. He couldn't FD anymore. So faultless defense is very important for that. If you're about to die, you can like kind of like FD like parry stuff, you know? So like say he was gonna die, or like let's say I was gonna die and Kai threw a fireball at me. You don't want to just sit there and burn your meter like that. Look how much meter I lost. You know? What you want to do is you can kind of parry certain attacks. Like, say you just kind of like parry it. You just hit 2 buttons real quick. And it's not about actually parrying it. It's just about minimizing the amount of time you're holding it for. You know what I'm saying? Oops. Because normal attacks don't chip you out, right? So say he's about to die, normal attacks don't chip you. So there's no reason for him to FD that. But once I cancel into a special move, he wants to FD that. So it's that way he's not just burning his meter. He's not just sitting there blocking everything, burning it until he dies, but rather he's sitting there blocking, and then when he sees something that could chip him, he FDs it, you know, periodically. You can turn it off and on at will, so you just don't want to sit there and hold it, you know. Another super critical reason to use FD is that, remember that I said that you can't block certain attacks like grounded normal attacks when you're in the air? You can with faultless defense. So if see how I was able to block that, whereas normally I would not. See, I was blocking right there. I was blocking right there. That's me FDing. Now I can block it. So while you remember, you can't, if you air dash at someone, if you ID at them, you can't block in the middle of it. This is as fast as I can block. Now I can block. So if you air dash at someone, FDing is not going to save you unless you air dash and then you're done. Then you can FD. But if you air dash at someone, you're going to get punished for it if it was well placed. That's why I always say move with a purpose. But if you get caught in the air, you always want to FD if you're coming down on someone. So let's say for some reason I was falling down on Kai, you're going to want to FD while coming down, because otherwise you don't want him to hit you with an anti-air and then jump cancel into a full combo. See? So FDing is the most important of like the system mechanics that I can think of in terms of blocking. So all it is just either down, back, FD, or jump, and then hold back and FD. So really important. Another thing it does too is, remember earlier I explained if you run at someone and you try to block, you can't block immediately. So I'll show with Kai here. So if you'll notice, when Kai runs at me, he runs and then he like stops. That right there, he was blocking, but he got hit. So you see how like he like skirt? You see that? You see how he like slides? You can be hit during that animation. He's already blocking. He's blocking, but see how it went skirt before he crouched? You see how like he kind of slid on the water? You know what I'm saying? You can hit him during that. That's why dashing at people can be a little bit dangerous. But there's something in the game called FD break, which again, it sounds complicated, but it's not hard. All it is when you dash at someone, you block with faultless defense, and it makes you block immediately. So look, you see how I break first? Or I'll show you with Kai this time. See how he blocks immediately? Now I can't. I would have hit him before, but now I can't. So that's FD break. So so you want to remember, if you're running at someone, you can FD break to stop immediately. And this doesn't just help with blocking in time, but it also helps too with, remember how I said if you get a knockdown, you want to run in and then hit a button? I mean, that FD break will make you stop immediately. You might slide into them and then get thrown. But with FD break, you can FD break. You know, but that's not really super important. The important thing is make sure you're blocking anti-air attacks with FD, and make sure you're avoiding chip damage with FD. You can push people out with it if you want to, but the important thing is really the chip and blocking anti-air attacks. Those are the two main important things that you want to know about it. Blocking pokes is cool too, but like the main takeaway from that is definitely going to be avoiding chip, blocking anti-air attacks. The other reasons, which is pushing people out, and FD break, you know, those will come with time as you get better at the game. The next thing I want to get into is just defending, or instant block. So you'll see it as just defend sometimes, or instant block, written as IB, instant block. And what instant block is it's basically when you block an attack right when you block an attack right as it's hitting, see, and you see in the description here, block type, normal block, which we covered, faultless defense, which we covered, and instant block. So look, so you guys already know what you're talking about. So instant block, and so this is gonna set the dummy to do that. So you'll see it says just, because like I said, just defend, and he'll flash white. So just defend and faultless defense are kind of like an inverse to each other. They kind of are mirroring each other. They're opposites, right? The reason is because with faultless, you just kind of hold it and it costs meter. Just defending doesn't cost meter. You just have to hit back right when the attack hits you, kind of like a third strike parry, but instead of forward, you're hitting back. So if Kai jumps and he does an attack, I just have to hit back right. I'm doing it manually. I just have to, see, I mistimed it. You hit back right before it hits you. Now what this does is it reduces pushback. Remember, faultless defense makes you get pushed back. It reduces pushback, and it also reduces frame advantage. So if you're not familiar with what frame advantage is that frame advantage is essentially just determining whose turn it is after an attack. So if I do an attack on Kai and he blocks it, and we both press punch afterwards, or if both of us press our fastest button, one of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose. And this is determined with the move that connects on block. So some moves, like this move right here, soul is plus after this move. So if I jab afterwards, I will beat Kai. If I do a little crouch punch and Kai does it, I'll win. But if Kai just defends it, that actually makes it so that this move is not plus, and actually Kai will win now because he's rewarded for just defending it. So now Kai can actually fire back. So just defending is really, really hard. And if you're just defending something that does multiple hits, you have to actually repeatedly keep hitting back. So like with Kai, I'll try and do it. But if Kai does this move, which does multiple hits, you have to just, like, you'll see right there how it said just a million times, because you have to keep mashing back. Right, I only got it a few times there. See, just mashing back, and that it reduces the frame advantage on those hits. Instant block doesn't negate chip damage though. And it reduces block stun and pushback, so it keeps them closer to you. Just defending is for punishing things. So if you're just defending something, you're basically saying, I'm going to parry this so that I can punish it, whereas normally I couldn't, or to where I can take my turn back to where normally I couldn't. This is pretty advanced. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really use just defending as much as I should, or instant blocking as much as I should. So it's one of those things where I'm letting you know about it, that it exists, but don't worry about doing it. Don't try to do it. Faultless defense is much more important for beginners. So please focus on faultless defense first. Understand just defending exists, but you don't need it in order to play the game or do well in local tournaments or online and stuff like that, okay? Okay, so we know that you can use meters for super attacks, which cost 50% tension, and characters have different supers, but it's gonna cost 50% for your character. And they'll have different inputs depending on the character that you're playing, right? So as you can see, but other stuff that you can use your meter for, one of them is Blitz Shield, which is another defensive mechanic. Blitz Shield is performed by using heavy slash plus any other attack button except for dust. You can do a standing version, a crouching version, and an air version. And it can be charged. This is me not charging it, this is me charging it. It costs 25% of your tension gauge in order to do this. What it does is it puts you in a state where if the opponent should hit you, it'll say rejected and they'll be stunned, and then you can fire back, essentially. So it's like it's a defensive mechanic. It's like a get off me. Now it works the same way as blocking. So if you do the low version, this will guard against low attacks. If you do the high version, which is just performed by just pressing, you just press heavy slash plus whatever button, and that does the version that works like a high block. So this will lose to lows. So, see, it's a counter. But the crouching version, whoops, will still reject them, right? So you do still have to have the right read in terms of whether you're getting hit. So if I do the low version and he does an overhead, it's gonna blow me up. See? But the high version will stop him. And it will it will stop anti-airs. So you can faultless defense, or you can do this, but don't do this. Like, please don't, because it's not worth it. Because you can't really like do anything after that. So this is another thing that I wouldn't really worry too much about doing if you're new to the game, honestly. It can be a really good reversal option. Like if someone knocks you down and then they go up and try to hit you. Like see how you hit me with a low? I could wake up with the low Blitz shield. Let's see if I can time it right. Oops. Hold on. So you can wake up with it as like a reversal option against people. But what happens is that the entire time that you're charging it, if they hit you, it will reject them. However, if they hit you at like the beginning portion of it, you kind of just hit them with like this one hit and it sends them flying, right? But you can charge it all the way. If you do charge it all the way though, they can block, right? The only way you can hit them with the fully charged version is if they hit you later in it. Let's see how you hit me later. Now the fully charged version actually punished them, and then I get a full combo. So you'd have to be charging it for a while and then get hit in order to hit them with the fully charged version, which will crumple. Because the fully charged version crumples, but not fully charging it just sends them flying. See, that's the fully charged version, which crumples them, and then you can actually like dash up and get a full combo. And the regular version right here sends them flying. In the corner, it does wall splat them, and you could jump up and air combo them or something, right? And then just tapping it does that. So this is just tapping it. Just tapping it rejects them, and then you can try to run up and hit them. See? So you could either just reject them with just a little hit and then try and punish them. You could reject them and charge it a bit and send them flying. Or if you charged it and you're like, oh fuck, they didn't hit me, you could, if you have balls, just keep charging it and hope they hit you and then get a crumple. So if you're new to the game, I wouldn't really worry too much about this feature. Faultless defense is still the most important thing for blocking anti-airs, and like I said, pushing people out, negating chip damage. Instant block, like I said before, I wouldn't trip over that as a new player. And same with Blitz. I would wait some time before using Blitz. You're not really going to be at a significant disadvantage for using them, because there's so many other features of the game that are used constantly throughout the match that this one just isn't. Like Blitz may come up every once in a while, Just Defend might come up every once in a while, but Faultless is the one out of everything I explained that you want to focus on. So I really want to make that important to you so that you're not discouraged by all these features, because you don't have to go into a match and use all of them. At the end of the video, I'll put all of the pieces together and show you what were the key things out of everything I explained that you're going to use, and what are the things that you'll use later on as you get better. Okay, so negative penalty. So negative penalty, which you've been hearing like a bunch of times throughout this guide, is if you are, it's not even about playing too passive, because you can play keep away, you can play defensive, but if you're avoiding contact with your opponent like the plague, you're just air dashing away, you're not, I ran towards him there so that helped, but if you're just constantly running away, air dashing away from your opponent and never attacking, you get a negative penalty. And because I'm in training mode, it keeps refilling my meter, but if you notice there, it drained my meter to 0, so you lose all stored tension, and your ability to gain tension is like significantly nerfed for an extended period of time. This will rarely ever happen in a real match, because typically your opponent's gonna catch you, because eventually you're gonna get to the corner and you're gonna get negative penalty, and it sucks. So I mean, you will rarely see that happen in a match. You won't get penalized for playing keep away or anything like that, so long as you're actually attacking and playing the game. But it's just to prevent you from just like completely running away and running out the time because you have the life lead or something like that. So that's negative penalty, and that's why you've been seeing that. Before we get into the rest of what the tension meter does, because there's a lot of that, I wanted to talk about the risk gauge just to get that out of the way. So let's make this full block for us real quick. So as he's blocking, you see that bar below his health bar, that purple bar that's increasing. So that's a guard gauge. So as it eventually starts flashing, And when it starts flashing, what that means is if I hit him, I get a free counter hit, even if he didn't press anything. Since it's counter. So basically, if you block for a really long time, the risk gauge fills up, and the next attack that hits you, it's going to do more damage. If the bar is flashing, then it's going to be a counter hit. The next hit, so it's flashing now, the next hit's going to be a counter hit, regardless of whether you press something or not. So the risk gauge going up is bad for the defender, so you really want to, you really want to get out of your pressure. I mean, people's strings end at some point, so they shouldn't be able to just do this to you infinitely, you know? If you're blocking a lot, it just means that you're playing way too scared. You know, you have defensive options to get out. You know, use like an invincible uppercut or something if your character has one, like a Shoryuken or a super move if your character has one. If you don't have any of those, there's burst. You know, I explained before, you could jump out and air dash away. You know, press a punch if you're close, and gatling it into something, into a sweep, you know. So there's, you know, use your options to get out. They'll just let them bully you. If you do hit someone with an attack, when they're blitzing, they can actually reject you back. So like, when you get put in that state where you're rejected, see, like Kai can't do anything, but he can input the Blitz shield again. So when what happens is, here, I'll explain it again. So jump, hits an attack, right? So in that state right there, Kai can't do anything, right? I just did a Blitz shield, Kai hit the Blitz shield, and now he's been rejected. So as you saw before, I can stop doing the Blitz shield and just run up and hit him, or I can charge it a little bit and release it and hit him and send him flying, right? And you'd think, oh, well, Kai hit the Blitz shield, there's nothing Kai can do. There isn't anything Kai can do, except Kai himself can actually input Blitz shield right now. He can input his own. Of course, he has to have 25% meter, because it costs 25% meter to do Blitz shield, but he can. And then if Kai does input Blitz shield, he'll put himself in a state where if my Blitz shield attack hits him, he will then reject that, and it essentially goes back and forth. This is why you can charge the Blitz shield, and this is why you can release it early to play this kind of mind game with people, essentially. So let's see. So I'll just have Kai do this, and I'll just do it again. Hopefully that should come out all right. There. So, oops. So he does his thing. I'm like, oh shit, I got rejected. I can reject his rejection. And then by me charging the whole thing, so it may sound confusing at first, but by me charging it, it essentially, once you charge it all the way and it becomes red, you can't reject that version. So that might be why you might want to charge it. See, yep. So it's just kind of this back and forth game, but it's, I mean, you don't get like a whole lot off of it. It's not a big deal. Like I said, if you're a new player, don't stress yourself out about it. Like, seriously, don't.